It's the Awake Space Astrology Podcast. I'm Laurie Rivers, your host, here to help you with some inspiration to get those aspirations out to the world. Let me tell you, April is quite a month. If you watched my 2025, you're ahead, and I don't blame you if you didn't. You know that April has some spicy meatballs coming to it. But I don't want you to be worried, and I don't want you to despair, because as much as the outer world will look like caca is hitting the fan, your inner world can be bright and productive and creative. And that's what we're going to focus on this week. Yes, I will give you updates about what's in the headlines. Don't blame me. I don't write them. Okay, I just predict them. But there's good stuff too. We're going to talk about how to maintain your energy hygiene and how to switch your mindset up in this episode of the Awake Space Astrology Podcast. We're also going to give our April overview and give you the tools to grab your board and surf the cosmic tide. So grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab your matcha, grab your iced tea, your iced coffee, whatever you're drinking. Cheers, big ears. We're going to fold laundry together. We're going to take the kids to school. We're going to go to work and get perfect parking every single time. Whatever we're doing, we're going to do it together. Hey, thanks for joining.
I'm doing good. Yeah. You're on one today.
I am on one. I feel so light and buoyant.
Yeah.
With Neptune having moved the hell out of Pisces, even for a little while.
Well, you look good.
Thank you. I feel good.
Good.
It was heavy for quite a while. So
I agree.
how are you feeling? Have you noticed a shift in the energy?
Oh, absolutely. I feel much lighter. No anxiety. Nothing.
Nice.
Feeling good. Feeling calm. Well, maybe a little too calm.
You know what that means?
Oh, no.
That's the FAO, or of the FO cycle. That means the FO has arrived. Because if you are your mother's daughter, like right before the caca hits the proverbial fan, you're like, I got this. I'm calm. It's all right.
Oh, no. Yeah.
No. Yeah. But anyway, it's there's some really good stuff happening this week. Again, on an individual level, you can grab it and run with it. And like I've seen in a lot of my clients' charts, they're doing great. You know, they're making moves. They're focused. And it's how we're going to make it through all of this is pulling our energy inward, taking care of ourselves, and not necessarily being overly responsible for everybody else's indecision or decision. Because indecision is a decision. So
absolutely.
And honestly, the time for warnings is at an end. So people haven't figured it out by now. Don't know what to tell them. It's like, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. It may sound like a bad attitude, but it's not. And I had somebody ask me on TikTok, because yes, I returned. Like, do they have to help people if they're exhausted themselves? Yeah.
I mean, to an extent, you know.
No, I disagree.
Really?
No, I don't think you have to help people if you're spiritual. I don't, I mean, if you're exhausted, you need to take care of you. It's a long game.
No, for sure that. I mean, but where you can't help, I think people need to. Because I also think people, especially now more than ever, really lean into how tired they are. You know what I'm talking about too.
Well,
I think we've been really apathetic, and we're at where we're at because of this whole individualistic kind of identity crisis we're having, where it's just one person against the world instead of everybody kind of
in it together.
And we're human beings. We need to do that.
Well, I'm not saying not to join together with other people,
No, but helping
but you
people,
have to
yeah,
remember
when you're empty,
a
on
right,
empty. Yeah.
a lot of energy workers
Yeah.
have been at it for a really long time.
I'll
And
say don't give when your cup is empty.
exactly.
But if you've got enough in your cup, I say always try to help. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and maybe that's just my background and stuff.
You
With
kind of raised that way.
yeah, and like being multicultural and everything, like I feel like with for those who are Muslim, I think they would get it. Being charitable, helping, it's such a big
Right.
part of your identity. Like no matter what, I feel like every person I know, it's just such a big
Agreed.
part of our
And
lives, you know?
but I'm also speaking about something very different than
Yeah, don't give if your cup is
just
empty. Like I get that
yeah.
part.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
if you're
have to put your own
completely,
oxygen mask on.
yeah,
The time for martyrdom is done.
yeah,
And it's not your job to take responsibility for other people's actions and decisions. And I'm speaking to a certain group of people,
yeah,
I think, who can be codependent.
yeah,
And I think
exactly.
there's a big difference between being interdependent
Yeah,
and codependent.
yeah, I
Because
actually think
again,
you're
you
right.
watch me show up every single week.
Yeah, you know what?
Whether
And I think
I've
that's the
lost.
difference between men and women too. I
Mhm.
think you're right because I think that some things speak more to men needing to take action on in a way versus women
Yes.
because we're
Mhm.
constantly, um, we are giving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
like I was listening to a lady talk about, in any spiritual text or belief, it's largely addressing men. It isn't
Yeah.
addressing women because women are
Yeah.
already doing that work
Absolutely.
and they were
Yeah.
having to address men. So I
Right.
guess you are right in that. So don't
Right.
give if your cup is empty. But I feel like I'm still
And
that
that's
person
what
where
I'm
I'm
talking
like
about.
always help if you can help.
Well, I
Yeah,
agree.
but fill your cup.
If you can, but you have to fill your cup. And there's people who are running on empty.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna say there's another side to that, and you touched on it before I could get to it, but you're not wrong. First of all, Eid Mubarak to all of our listeners who celebrate Islam and practice Islam. Um, it's something I miss celebrating very, very much in the Middle East. It's a beautiful time, and
Hide your sheep.
yeah, hide your sheep, hide your goats. I prefer goats to sheep, but it's a thing. But there's a difference in coming together in community and then taking on the hero's role. And I think
Yeah,
in the West, what we see is a lot of people taking on like a
like
Jesus complex,
exactly.
the white
Everybody's a
savior
Joan of
complex.
Arc. Everybody's
Yeah.
a,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, that's not necessary. Like
Mm-hmm.
to be on your own. I think those lessons were
No.
taught by those people, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to have the
Absolutely.
one leader. We need to all collectively, which I think was the
Mm-hmm.
point those people were trying to make also in history.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Every single time. None of them
yeah,
did it alone. Even Joan had allies.
even Jesus. I
Yeah.
mean, you look at
Yeah.
different,
Jesus had the
any
apostles.
prophet, any
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
person. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, to the person who asked the question, my answer was no, you don't have to.
Yeah.
If you've given, and people have ignored you, made fun of you,
Oh,
reviled you,
yeah.
you don't have to laugh at their, peril or their bad decisions or whatever's going on. But no, you can go take care of you, and get back into the fray because we have more work to come. We're not done with our work. We have a respite to refill, replenish before we get back into the game.
Yeah.
And I think from a cultural perspective, people working together can make a huge difference. And we're in Pluto and Aquarius, and the power is with the people. It is not the dawning of the age of Aquarius. We're not going to hit unity consciousness. Human beings will never get there. That's not part of our design. We're not meant to be the Borg or a school of fish. We're meant to be aware individuals working in concert together, right? And so at this moment in time, it's really, really important to take care of you and the people you've committed to, your family, your friends. We have friends that we adopt as family sometimes, our chosen family, and get to know people in our wider community. But you don't have to wake anybody up. You don't need to give any more warnings. Again, if people haven't figured it out by now.
Yeah. And there's always example. I think people want to see proof in it too. You know, I feel people are just so scared. Even
So
if
tell
you're
me more
reaching
about
out a
that.
hand. I don't know. Like, I feel like even if you're reaching out and trying to lead someone somewhere, they're still too scared to make that step. Even if there's like, they can clearly see ahead of them, oh, there's water. You know, it's that terrain getting there that terrifies them, and they want to see somebody else go through it. So
yeah,
there's that.
And that's why I don't chase clients. People come to me.
Yeah.
I'm not there to work with anybody who isn't ready to be worked with.
Yeah. Even like
Because
with friends and family, it's just like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you have a vision that other people don't have. Maybe they can't see what you see so clearly. And that's really important for people to understand. Just because you see it doesn't mean the other person does. They may not be ready for it yet.
Yeah, especially if you're looking at the world like this.
Well, some people do, but other people don't. Yeah. So, anyway, big shout out to patrons. Without patrons, we don't have a podcast. What do you think? You've been going live with me more in the Patreon. What do you think of the cool crew we got in there?
It's a cool space. Everybody's pretty funny.
Oh,
sometimes I peek into memes that are posted or some of the chat.
What makes it cool to you?
Makes it cool to me. I guess it's nice to see like-minded people in your community, like people with similar hobbies to you, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of people, and that people didn't know. Like people,
and
yeah.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't know I crocheted.
Oh yeah, that's weird.
So
Should have brought mine over.
I know, right? So that was kind of fun. Lots of baking, lots of food prep, lots of recipes. I've been getting people ready for these times for a long time, like all of your life.
Yeah, all of my life. Get your gardens ready now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's very important.
Buy your chickens.
If you can, yeah.
Get those ducks.
Get the ducks.
Muscovies are quiet. Just don't get a drake. They never stop breeding.
No.
They bury their eggs, by the way.
Oh, yes, they do. I warned you about that.
It's okay. You know, there's always a few that I miss every single time in a clutch.
Well, that's how we ended up with over 40 ducks.
That is how I'm close to. Yeah. It's okay. The maid is like very happy. She gets her ducks.
There you go. That's awesome. Yeah. So we're going to do some patron shout outs here in just a little bit. Yeah, because we're like NPR, man. It's my favorite. Right? I'm so proud.
It's very fitting for our personalities.
Isn't it?
What's our dream? I feel like NPR. Play some classical music and talk about the astrology.
We played classic rock, right? You should try these muffins. No, just kidding. Somebody put up the chocolate salty balls.
I was just about to say that right when you were saying it. Like, let's try some salty balls.
Right? And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, it's an SNL skit that was making fun of NPR. And I had to admit that sometimes when I'm recording late at night, I pretend that's what I'm doing. So just to amuse myself. So I appreciate you being on with me, because it actually is more energizing to me to talk with somebody else instead of pretending that I'm talking to somebody else, or visualizing my audience, which I do. People wondered, I do visualize you guys listening. As I'm talking, I'm thinking about people driving in traffic and, taking the kids to school or taking a walk or exercising or folding laundry. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. People are doing those things with me. So I get to help with people's chores without having to do them.
That's nice.
Right? It's a perk. It's a perk of the job. So we'll do our Patreon shout outs. We're going to talk about the April astrology. I'm going to give but first I'm going to talk about energy hygiene and what that is. And it's as important as physical hygiene. A lot of it's emotional management. We hear a lot about regulation. I think it can often mean that people think they're not supposed to be emotive at all. And I think people can take it a little too far. And so to me, it's about redirecting and recalibrating. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. Because I think a lot of times people think if they've had a bad day and they have a meltdown that they somehow did something wrong. I'm like, no, sometimes you have a shitty day and you're going to melt down. That's okay. It's not okay to do it all the time out of context.
And to learn to self-soothe. I feel like a lot of us aren't able to do that at times. You know what I mean?
I have a thing about self-soothing.
Why? Of course you do.
Well, I'm a Cancerian.
I know.
And babies are not designed to self-soothe.
Oh, I'm not.
And the reason why
babies. Oh God, no.
The reason adults can't self-soothe is babies were left
100%. I agree with you. I don't think children or babies are meant to self-soothe. I feel like you're 100% correct on that.
Yeah,
don't make your babies cry it out. That's why we have trouble as grown people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I'm so well regulated. Is you never let me just cry it out, ever. You forced me to spend time with you at all times. If I was angry, if I was misbehaving, I was not sent away. I was supposed to sit with you and process.
You hated it.
I hated it, but I feel like that's why in extreme situations, I'm really able to center and just not fully. I mean, there's times where I can fully collapse and,
the only time the only time you were ever allowed to cry was when we were taking your very, very baby pictures. And do you remember?
Oh, because I looked cute. Yeah. When I looked like little baby Anthony Hopkins, yes.
Oh, before that, even before that, this was we're like 3
brand
days.
New, yeah,
brand
when
new.
I was pooping.
We propped you with pillows. No, this is after the poop phase.
Oh.
There's a picture of you where you look like a heavy metal rock star.
Oh no, there's a few of them.
Yeah, and that's the only time, and it was like 3 seconds, and I picked you up.
Oh yeah, you never let me cry though.
Yeah,
probably why I was a stoic baby in a way. I wasn't stoic, but I was grouchy and argumentative. But
you were just born a Virgo race.
But I wasn't I didn't feel the need to constantly cry.
No, you didn't have to. Your needs got met.
Exactly.
So, and I took it.
Not a wet diaper was saddened.
Never. I could smell right before you would pee.
Yeah, I know.
And so you had dry diapers changed, and then I'd be like, now I have to do it again. But I took it from an anthropological perspective. We are primates, and primates are social, and they are very physical. They are not separate.
OG crunchy before that was a thing.
I would have been an almond mom.
Pre-chewing my food.
We don't need to tell all of it.
So
I did though. It was gross.
But you know what? It's actually not that big of a deal. I don't think so.
I was really taken from a scientific, anthropological point of view.
Don't see much difference. Yeah.
You're alive.
So when we're talking about regulating and self-soothing, we kind of have to do that for ourselves, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean by self-soothing, what you're supposed to be or what you should have had,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's lots of things that can impair that. Like even if your parents held you, and didn't let you cry it out. Like in my case, I had an infant surgery.
Yeah.
So that impaired a bond. Mostly because they told my mom I was going to die and get prepared for it.
Yeah.
Like, how lame is that? And so I was held a lot, but it was delayed. But I didn't cry much as a kid.
No. It's okay. You've made up for it.
Shut up. I cried later.
Yeah.
But not as a small one.
Yep. Eeyore.
There were reasons.
I know. Anyway. I'm teasing.
Yeah. Don't blow the veneer on the podcast.
So regulate.
So
how do we do it then?
So, well, I think one, understanding what your actual emotions are. So being able to name them is very, very important.
Maybe speaking it out loud even.
Yeah, and to yourself, not necessarily to other people, but just I feel about, because making the feeling statement.
To yourself,
yeah, to yourself. I feel angry because.
That helps me so much more.
Yeah.
Actually. Instead of turning to somebody for that. I think that really changed the way I process, because I could go to you. And when you're an adult, you think you can approach like, oh, hey, I'm feeling this, this, and this. It's not usually helpful. No. They are not there to walk you through it.
Unfortunately, so I was trained by H. Stephen Glenn, PhD, who's the founding researcher in resiliency studies. And he had a program that they build as a parenting class, but it can be used for anybody. It's about building resiliency and communication skills. So my kids were raised with this, and I did them no favors for entering the outside world where other people have jack all for communication skills.
So we have to communicate to ourselves for ourselves. So this is how you do it.
Right. So what's one of the ways, so when you name it for yourself, what are some of the things you do?
Okay. Well, for me, and this is probably so different from a lot of people, sometimes it helps me to write down what is actually happening in that very moment. And, listing out the exact emotions, the exact situation that's happening, what I think is going to happen, what's actually going to happen. Even though you don't know, you can kind of sometimes, the sky is not always falling as I think it is. So it's good to recognize that.
Yeah.
So I feel like writing has really helped me, actually. What else? What do I do? I think I stopped turning to other people to kind of bounce board how I feel, and to just do that for myself, really. And to be okay with where I was at. I think it's also just like, this sucks, but having to actually be responsible for the way I was feeling in a situation, and that it was just what it is. And to just get through it, I don't know what it was. It was a switch, especially during therapy. I think I had what I thought at the time was the worst therapy session, but it was like the best I've ever had. where she basically, I love her, like old Southern woman, was like, and then what are you going to do? Okay, this has been every week. I've given you the tools. What are you going to do about it?
Wow.
You have options. What if they think this? What if they did this? What happens? Those are their reactions. And then what? You know, it wasn't what I wanted to hear. It was very stern. And I was so mad. And I was so mad at that response, but it snapped something in me, and she was right. And for whatever reason, sometimes some things just like connect, and whatever pathway connected for me, which just was like, now anytime something's happening, I'm really able to just kind of in that moment pull myself through it. Almost like, hey, this is gonna like pass. What if there's like, we've been through so much, and then I have to realize, like, one, count my blessings, one, realize that I have options. There's so many different routes I can take depending on what's going on, and that I'm capable, like, at the end of the day.
That's perfect.
That's it. Yeah. And it immediately transformed so many things in my life, to be honest. Like, having an old Southern lady pretty much yell at you, like, and then what?
That's great.
Yeah. You keep bringing up the same problems.
And that's it. If you are on a broken record, over and over
and writing down the same problems, talking about the same problems, but what was the end result every time? What happened after? Was what you thought happened after? Is what you thought was going to happen, and what do you do then? Like, I think just having to, for me, she really put me back into what I like the most, which is just really thinking out things very matter-of-factly and logically and stuff, because I got stuck in a really emotional kind of spiraling, like I'm just traumatizing myself over and over and over really nothing. Like, honestly, she was right. It was like nothing was happening. Like, I was just living in that, like, a traumatic for nothing period, and silly goose, got over it.
Oh, I don't think you were being a silly goose. I think you had a habit that had to be broken, and a thought habit.
I wasn't doing myself right in that moment, though, to be honest. No, and that's something I learned, was to be accountable for the way I was behaving too. And I think that was a really big shift for me. That I was a
huge turning point for you.
Yeah, I really wasn't. Not a victim, but like, a victim of like circumstances. So like, I would just so leaned into like terrible things being my identity, and then not seeing anything good, even though hugely blessed. You know? Yeah.
It's an easy habit to fall into, because it's celebrated in our culture, and it's celebrated online, especially as you were
or as a woman,
and as a woman, you get our the victim mentality, and
and
we usually are pretty justified. Doesn't mean that it isn't happening, and we aren't. It's just, it doesn't do us any good.
No,
to
I don't
make ourselves and bring ourselves. Yeah,
and that's what I learned is I don't need to sit in it,
No. But yeah, I remember that time when you turned the corner. I was like so proud of you. So I was like, whoa, all right. So yeah, it's huge to be able to do that.
But yeah, journaling like out these outcomes. That's my recommendation, and like really process like exactly what you're feeling. Use all the adjectives. And then like what is really going to happen. probably nothing. Or if something does happen, how do you manage and deal with it? It probably isn't going to be the end of the world. So, and if it is, then what? Yeah. I had to figure it out. She wouldn't give me chill pills, so I begged.
That's funny.
I begged.
Please.
She's like, no, you're processing. It's good.
I really, really appreciate her. I really appreciate her. Now see, I think different people and astrology has different makeups, right? So, for some people it will be the writing or speaking aloud. Other people, like for me, I have to reframe like immediately. I have to go from here to here, because if I don't immediately switch out, I'm already aware of how I feel all the time. And it's like, what? So as you well know, you grew up with me. There's a lot. And so like, it's already there on the surface. And so you
need to pivot immediately from A to B. Like you need to get to that A to B, switch it up, which also helps me. That's another thing that I've learned to go back to is, because I had a lot of different influences over the years where it just kind of changed the way I naturally go through stuff and how I processed things. And, but yeah, switching it up and going from you kind of have to, not be delusional, but be delusional in a way. Like you've got to change up your vibes, your energy levels. You've got to, you've got to survive. You've got to like, hey, maybe the world is ending. Let's put on some Sgt. Pepper.
Right. If the world's going to end, have a damn good time.
Dance in the living room real quick. Vibe out and then attack it, what we need to do. But yeah, I always thought the way you need to process things is also really helpful. And
if I write out the story, that story's gonna be
no. It's a dark for you.
Long. Yeah.
For you, it becomes a saga. It becomes a odyssey. It becomes a long odyssey, a dark one, and nobody needs to read that book. We'll all be sad. Stephen King, move over. No bueno. So
learning to switch gears, and it isn't a denial of the feelings. Again, I'm always aware of my feelings. I'm a freaking Cancer, so. But being able to switch over. One of the things I see a lot is like addiction to drama.
Yeah.
And again, that's that going person to person to person. Did you hear what that person said and what they did and for how many cookies? And I'm going to tell them.
And the internet's not great for that too.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. And that kind of drama, and it is drama. And I'm fortunate enough to have a Libra moon, and you have a Libra moon too, but they work a little differently because of our other makeup. But I'm freaking allergic to it, which really used to piss you off as a teenager, because I'd be like, block them, like, why are you entertaining that? Just block them.
Yeah.
But you were coming of age with the Kardashians and all that other crap on television.
Well, I don't know if the Kardashians really have anything to do with it.
The way they talked, and the whole, we need to talk. Nobody needs that. Nobody needs that. We need to talk. That's always a problem coming down the pike. I hear that and I want to run. You know what I mean? Because it's never anything good.
Yeah, I think more of my issue is like just the way is dealing with boys and stuff. And not in like dating, but like as in a capacity of like how, I don't know, just the bullying, you know what I mean? Online, and the dismissive attitudes when they just don't know anything. And, because it was almost always me wanting to kill somebody. It was
Oh, it
just
was the
them
blood
being
curdling
ignorant.
scream.
And
The blood curdling scream
and just because they had
that uttered
beliefs
out of the
that
womb.
they knew everything, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, yeah, like, and just realizing, and it is hard to just like block somebody or move on when you want to make a point. And that I think I had difficulty of like trying to show people like, no, hey, you're wrong. It's not a good space to be in. Like, you know,
You're such a Virgo.
I'm so like literal about things. Like, I think that's also like on the spectrum issues of like no, there's fact. Like, and it was just so frustrating for me because I'm like, no, but there are facts. Like, that isn't a fact. That isn't real. Like, your opinion isn't real. Like, there are things that are concrete that exist that are there, you know?
Right.
So that was more of my, I think, issue with arguing with people online or friend groups, is that I was just so stuck in the
the tism in me sees the tism in you, and I get it. But the need to be right gets in our way.
Yeah.
And the great late Jonathan Keener would send me private messages when I was on his message board back in the 90s. He was a wonderful astrologer. And I was having an argument about how to approach clients, because there was no standard in how to run a reading back then. And I was just getting started.
Yeah.
And I realized I'd kind of stepped on somebody without meaning to, because like my threshold for talking about trauma and my understanding of what was traumatic was very, very different than other people's, because I'd been through some shit.
Yeah.
And I watched a client's eyes get really big and just about crawl out of the chair as I was pinging unintentionally. I was just trying to help. And again, we weren't trauma informed back then. That became something much later.
Triggering and without realizing.
Very triggering. Yeah. And an untrained Scorpio rising on the loose. Anyway, I went on and I felt really bad. And some people were like, no, you just tell it like it is. And you're right. And they need to listen. And I was like, but I don't think that was hopeful. I think there's better ways to do this. And I was looking to older people than me or more experienced people than me for their opinions. And Jonathan sent me a little message. And it was the most powerful message I've ever received. Is it better to be there or to be right? What does your client actually need from you?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, that's exactly it. Be there. Be there with them. And that kind of helped me knock the need to be right. Not all the way. It took practice. But there's a lot of times where I'll just let people talk and I know they're wrong. But they're trying to prove themselves to me or prove what they know. I'll come back. But if we're just in conversation and somebody's going to talk about the butt, I just sit there and smile.
Yeah.
You know the smile.
No, of course I know the smile.
Not everybody knows. Sara will look at me. We'll be like, and I'll have the smile. She'll be like, Mom. I'm like, she'll be like, Mom. Because I'm like, that person's full of shit. But I won't say it every time.
Nicest way to put it.
But no, so I just smile. I don't need to correct people. It's necessary. Because the people who have to talk a lot are usually really insecure.
Yeah.
So
that need to be an authority on something they're not an authority on. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Yeah, funny enough.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
Which I find very funny. So I don't feel like we have to prove ourselves. But anyway, so that is part of energy work, is regulating your emotions, because your emotions are energy. They can measure emotional waves. Emotional contagion is something they studied at Harvard and Stanford and all sorts of places. And by emotional contagion, it means emotions are contagious. So depending on who you're hanging out with,
And what you're
will
putting out
be
there.
acute,
Yeah.
and what you're putting out, exactly, because you'll draw it to you as well. And not that you deserve any bad treatment, because you
No.
never do, but kind of energy, like meets like.
Yeah. And we're
So
only responsible for ourselves at the end of the day,
yeah, which was my main point of at the beginning.
Yes.
Which is, no, if you're empty, don't give. Wait till you fill up. You might need a week or two.
Yeah.
Both Matilda and I have been swimming in concrete. We haven't done a Sassy Sears. We're doing what we can where we can. Well, Sassy Sears is going to come back, guys. Don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
But we both had to take care of our own energy levels.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, I know what's going on with Matilda, because we talk every freaking day. We're friends. I don't know. People always like to inform me of what she's up to. I'm like, I know.
You are two middle-aged friends. Yeah. You will pick up the phone
biddies
and talk to each other.
Absolutely. Defrag after a long day.
Mm-hmm.
So now on energy clearing, because we'll move to the next segment. On energy clearing, you grew up with me doing a lot of energy work. You were attuned to Reiki as a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were hipsters, right? But anyway, hey, it's useful.
Yeah, it does.
You grew up collecting shiny rocks.
To say the
least. We had herbs herb garden.
Mm-hmm.
You learned how to garden, and how I used to make you your own lotions.
I mean, crunchiest of the crunchy before crunchy was a thing. Yeah.
I call it my earth goddess mama.
We were so close to a bunker. I'm kidding. Just teasing.
No,
but I mean, you were
all
getting
the skills. I felt I was getting you ready for 2020.
Absolutely. No, so it served a purpose.
It
and I'm very grateful.
Crazy.
It looked crazy.
It looked crazy. Was it? Now
no, it was very no, absolutely spooky. So I'm glad we did that. But yeah, cool stuff. Lots of crystals. Lots of making our own oat milk, and
Well, we made almond milk. Remember milking the almond cow?
Yeah, but I liked the oat milk the most.
You like that better?
Mm-hmm. Fresh oat milk is like so much better. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Almonds are great because you can make other stuff with it, but the oat milk is amazing.
Yeah. I like the fresh almond milk. I don't like buying anything from the store at all these days.
No, it tastes so awful. Going back to that. Yeah. But yeah, I'd say you.
So with energy work, when it comes to clearing, and you were raised to take care of your own energy hygiene. I know she's sitting there like it was a really weird childhood. And it did look weird. I'm sure it did. I didn't care because I was getting you ready for 2020 and beyond. So, what are some of your ways? How do you know when you need to recalibrate your energy?
Probably, I think this is like an early one for me, where it's like if I lose my imagination at all. That's like the depths of despair. Or just my energy levels, because naturally I'm a very optimistic person, I feel like. Like I have to be a very optimistic person. I'm a very hopeful person. Once I notice some of these things are not there, that's when I realize there are things I need to do. Like meditating and what I listen to, what I take in. So that's another thing that I wish I touched on earlier is I change what I consume immediately. Food, more water. I stop eating processed food if I'm starting to feel like that. I drink more water. What I listen to, I change in every aspect. Music, even, because I have to listen to music. I am that person who has to have their headset on, listening to music all day. Or just be in silence in nature. I have to not be on my phone or tech as much. I have to physically be outside and just kind of readjust and literally touch grass. I don't know if anybody remembers the Bernie Mac show, but when he's forcing them to go touch grass and look at the sun, that I have to do that because that's where I am. I recharge and I feel better, and it is important, and I feel like everybody should do that once in a while. So usually when I need my coming to God moment, it's always going outside, staying off my phone, and just being careful of what I'm listening to, whether it's people chattering around me or whatever influences. I just have to be really conscious of like influences of like impacting me. So, and
I think everybody needs to be more conscious of the influence that's around them.
Yeah. And so whatever messaging is being put out there, I'm just very aware of. So that's how I deal with mine. A lot of self-care. Immediately lotions and baths. Immediately. A lot of self-care for me is important in dealing with that. And it doesn't have to be fancy.
Huh? Like fragrance, does fragrance play a role? Whether
Absolutely.
it's drinking a certain kind of tea or
so certain teas, like I'm drinking right now some really high quality, nice tea, thankfully. And scents play a big role for me, like vanilla, orange, bless you. I won't call you out too much, but orange, vanilla. That's fine.
Orange and vanilla.
Peppermint, pine.
Now you learned a lot about aromatherapy from a master aromatherapist, a medical grade, not an MLM aromatherapist, but the real deal who made her own blends. What did so as you're rattling these off, is that based off that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I learned it. And it's just, those are the scents that sit with me that really are soothing, that pick me up.
Bergamot.
Yeah. And sometimes it changes, honestly. I'm trying to think of something recently that kind of really, that I smelled that really was a pick me up. But it just depends also. Like I'll go through and see but scent really has, like, I'll start wearing different perfumes. So I'll start wearing more oud. I'll start wearing more musk. I'll start wearing more traditional Arabic like perfumes. Like honestly, that's huge for me. And yeah, that's what I do. That's a lot more self-care, a lot more just being very, very aware of what I consume in every way. Yeah.
So being really conscious, and that's what being conscious is.
Yeah.
Being very, very aware about
what's
how
coming
you feel,
in and what I'm putting out, and the correlation between it all. And I can be pretty nerdy about it, actually. But I enjoy it. So
I love that. I thought it was really funny when you came around to talking about it with me, because for a long time you were like, screw you, screw that shit, I don't want to do this, it's weird, because the rest of the world was busy saying your mom was crazy. So
oh god, yeah.
And I never blamed you for that.
It was
I'm not
intense,
gonna lie. It did hurt, and I was a little sad, but you didn't do it, and I knew it was other influences. But I would trust, and this is something for you guys out there who are parenting. I trusted the relationship I had built with my children.
Yeah.
And I still do. And I trusted their process and their soul.
Yeah.
Okay. Some days it was easier than others.
Yeah.
And if you're in the trenches, mom and dad, auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa, I feel for you. It's not easy for either party. But when you came around, I'd be like, are you joshing me? You pulling my leg?
Yeah.
Because I was a little like, oh. And I was so excited because you came around of your own accord. Even though you were raised with a foundation, you came around of your own accord because of your own experience.
Yeah.
And that made me happy because I never wanted you doing it just because I said so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
that
you
was
never forced me to do anything. Or to be interested in anything. Actually, you were maybe way too good about that.
No, we followed your interests.
Yeah.
Where you were interested, I doubled down. I didn't let you get out of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'd make you do it. That's true. But for me, energy clearing, again, I stay in a lot of silence anymore. Because I talk enough for a living that I honestly, in my free time, I sit where it's quiet. Outside staring at clouds.
Or calling me and telling me just to sit in silence with you. It's like, okay, I'll just mute myself. Give you just
I'll call you to sit and
I'm unmuted for a half hour thinking I'm talking to you and you're zenned out, dude.
Oh. Sometimes I'm really tired when we're talking. It depends on where you're at, So when you're traveling like you are now, it's a different time of the day. So sometimes, and I've been really tired. The energy was very, very thick, and I've been very, very raw. And so there were reasons I wasn't on TikTok. I had no desire to go on. And it wasn't because I'm afraid of what people are going to say to me. I don't give a flying fuck what people have to say to me.
Okay.
It's more like I can't say that to them on there.
No,
like I'll get punished if I clap back. So
absolutely, yeah.
And my patience was razor thin.
Yeah, and we were all just tired. It was a weird 2 months. It was.
So just protecting my own energy, just quality. I'm not watching the news in general. I'm not a big fan of it anyway. I don't like TV, so I don't watch it. I'm never
journalists, like independent.
I follow people online.
And
I'll read stuff online, but not in depth.
No.
Because none of it's
really also your background. Surprising. You also know what's going to happen. I mean, you've studied this, so you're not exactly like. No, you don't have to be sat in front of a TV watching the news.
Right, yeah. And when the system broke so badly that the reason why my political prediction was wrong was because I was looking at it from a political framework instead of a business deal, because that's what it was. And it's apparently obvious that's what it was. And I saw it 2 weeks before the election. A lot of our listeners remember the episode where I was like, oh shit, this is crypto heist.
Yeah.
Oops. Although that's not faring well for them right now, but I think July 3rd, there's a bounce. So it's a very specific transit. But as far as energy clearing for me, baths, every step of the way, bath. Taking a walk is a great way to shift gears, clear the energy. I get very irritated by people's complaint. I don't have a lot of patience for complaint. I don't have a lot of patience for emotional drama. Where people I don't want to hear it. Don't save the drama for mama. Save it for your llama. Mostly because we have to narrow our focus right now. If we're going to move through this energy, we don't have time for bullshit right now. We have to stay very, very focused, and we have to, and that's everybody. You know, you want to get through this. You can't be scattershotting your energy all over the place in things that, like, is it really moving you forward? Is it really part of your purpose? Is it really part of your path? And you may not know what your purpose or your path is right now. You don't have to, but you're not going to get on it or even see it if you're busy looking outside of yourself and everything. So, and no, that's not something that, like, in a reading, when people come to me, that's what we're working on. So it's not complaint. And, you know, right out the gate, I let people know I'm not a therapist. I will refer people to therapy, but I purposely did not become a therapist. No, I because I'm very, very emotionally sensitive. So I have to guard myself. Very, very much so. So that's why I do astrology instead of psychic readings, because it puts me up more in a mental space. Because I'm psychic AF, but I'm not going to dip into the energy. It still happens, whether I want it to or not. So, but it's usually funny stuff in a reading. Like, I'll get a nice message for people. Be like, hey, there's a song that won't leave my head. What's going on? So yeah, energy clearing, energy protection, pendants. I wear a lot of jewelry.
You know, you've always worn a lot of jewelry, yeah.
Yeah, rings, especially. It's a tool, and I will intend each piece of jewelry to have a meaning for me. So I'll sit with it and focus on it and be like, this one is a protection. This one is a shield. This one is a bug zapper. And that's it. It's just my imagination, but imagining that I am protected like by a Faraday cage almost, where, you know, or a bug zapper cage where, you know, negative energy comes in. Zzz, zzz, zzz. You know, doesn't mean that things don't get through. You know, everybody has a weak link in their armor.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, so there's that. All right. I think it's time we take a little break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to do some patron shout outs and talk a little bit about what's going on in the Patreon, because I have a really cool announcement. Did you see the survey?
Yes, I did.
I was going to do a survey for our Spotify listeners this week, but I have a cunning plan.
You have a cunning plan?
I have a cunning plan, and we'll talk about it next.
Nice.
Hey, all right, it's my favorite time. We get to talk about the Patreon and the patrons. We are 100% listener supported, and that's a huge deal. All right. Without patrons, there is no podcast. Without listeners, there's no podcast. And I don't tend to be somebody who looks at statistics. I know everybody else is into the analytics, but I just keep rolling and doing stuff. Moving my mic around. I put as much work into this when I had 65 people listening as when I have 6,500 people listening on a regular basis, which is really crazy. In fact, it's rare we even go below 10,000 every week. How crazy is that?
It's amazing.
Now, we have 14,000 Spotify subscribers. I don't make my money that way, though. I don't. I'm a crazy person. I keep it with patrons because I know not everybody can do it, you know? No, not everybody can do it. Even though it's $5 a month for really cool stuff.
For a lot of stuff, by the way.
There's a lot of stuff.
As somebody who pushed you into Patreon because I used it to support creators, you put out way too much content, in my opinion, but, you know.
I do.
It's my humble opinion.
No, I do. I put out more.
Paying for mods. I mean, supporting my people. They get to go to college and stuff and enjoy life. And then I see the abundance that you release, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's incomparable. So with other creators, which is a lot.
There's a lot there. You did push me to start a Patreon because you were an OG Patreon supporter.
Kind of, yeah. I've
Like
always known
for his
about
first
it.
year.
I couldn't always afford to support my favorite people, but when I could, I would get like cool stuff. Yeah.
You were a supporter of the guy who started it.
Yeah, which is weird. It's very full circle of like nerdy kid stuff. Yeah.
Because you like the band Pomplamoose.
Yes. Yes. And me and my friends trying to buy the damn soap when we had no money when we were teenagers. Yes.
And you begged me. You begged me for money to buy the Pomplamoose soap. And I only did it. I gave you the money only because Pomplamoose is my favorite French word.
I know. And it was also, what else? Like, we were so scared to buy something online because we were teenagers and it's like, oh, what if it's a scam? Just
right?
Funny. Put our card online? What? Anyway.
Right. That was fun. All right. So we've had some fun shenanigans in the Patreon. I ran a survey to find out the astrological makeup of the people who are in the Patreon, and we did it for free and paid subscribers, and the results were really fascinating. And I'm doing a free event for all patrons on Friday, April 4th, to reveal the whole survey and what it taught me. What were the surprises? What the breakdown actually means, and what it means for content coming in the future, because as an astrologer, it told me a lot. Told me what I was doing right and what I needed to change, believe it or not. Probably more than if I asked questions.
Even when I read that, I was like, oh.
Right?
Yeah.
I was a little shocked that Virgo suns were number one. I am very, very honored. Very honored. Very honored. So that was a little wild. And then Leo Moons didn't surprise me.
No.
Leo Moons, like, no, it didn't.
Especially
like,
with the comments and the people, like reading.
Which I think is funny because I give Leo placements so much of a hard time. But that's only because I grew up around a lot of Leo energy and I know how to tease Leo energy. So, but yeah, so it was actually really, and in all cases, I felt very honored. I'm very excited about Friday, but I did do, if people want to check it out, I did a little highlight reel that I think was really cute. Mercury retrograded me and I had to like fix it like 16 million times because my eyes don't track bar graphs. I gotta get it put into pie charts because the freaking bar graphs are hard for me to track with my blind eyes. But yeah, super exciting. We've been having some really good conversations in the chat as always. I did a video live in there. I have early access to some new features that are coming out on Patreon. Since I'm an ambassador, I get to test really cool stuff. There's more new cool stuff we get to test in the future. One of the things I get to test is the chat. So if you're wondering why the chats get buggy, it's because we're testing. We are the beta testers to make it better. So, which is an honor and a privilege and super cool. So we give feedback to them and let them know what's going on. But anyway, every single week, I give shout outs to our newest patrons. And I got to put on my handy dandy.
Yeah, who are these people?
Who are these people? Who the hell are they? All right.
Who's you?
Let's see. Got to get to it. They changed my analytics dashboard, so I'm getting used to it. All right. So we've got Tara Carr, Coxie Moronic. Some people, I swear to God, some of you pick your usernames just to make me laugh on air. Kate, Tiffany, Amber, Cass, Grim, Pedro.
Yay for president.
Like it's Ellen. I hope it's Ellen. Or it's Elian. Anyway, Stephanie, Yoko, Eli, Willicky, Kathy, Martha, Candace, Amani, The Tofu Seller, Crystal, Sophie, Maggie's, I'm Truly Grace, Not Truly, Diana, Morgan, Sharon, Amy, Ashley, Joey, John, Stevie, Janet, Jay, Venetia, Melissa, Veronica, Colin, Lydia, Megan, Rebecca, Liz, Nikki, Allie, Heather, SDC 2089, JJ, Astara, Maya, M, Beatrice, Elizabeth, Krista, Mary, Mariah, Anastasia, Kay, Sam, I love this one, Snarklepugus. Aw, super cute. Maggie, Ever, Nicole, Space Cadet 28, Karen, Owl at the Moon. I love how creative everybody is with their usernames. Ramona, Melissa JG, Sara, TJ, Divine AF, Evelyn, Heather, Ann, Nicole, Terry, New Moon Rising, Corina, Cassandra, Amy, Nathaniel, Victoria, Sonia, Kay, Ashley, Carmen, Nicole, Alyssa, Julie, Brittany Baby, Sparkleworm, Just Us 303, Devin, Cameron, Hannah, Carmen, Amber, Angela, Gabby, Anna, Sarah, or Sara, Izzy, Vina, Angela, Stephanie, Sarah, Michaela, Lindsay, Emily, John, and Lindsay. Thank you all so much for joining. Big shout outs to everybody who's in the chats. Again, really loving the emergency / food prep. So people put up, the recipes they've been making, showing pictures of their gardens, giving tips to people just starting out. It's a really lovely community of like-hearted people. I always say like minds leads to groupthink. We got to be careful about that. We have a wide variety of opinions and they're welcome. Okay. But the fact that people are in there as community, you won't be surprised that we have a lot of 11th house placements in there. So people who are drawn to community, to supporting and sustaining one another. And it's pretty cool. So I'm very, very proud of the community we have built over the last 5 years. We had a lot of growth in 2024. It was overwhelmingly cool. I think we're finally catching our breath and catching up to everything. And I think the dust is settled and we continue to grow on a steady basis. And I'm very appreciative to everybody. I'm going to be doing a survey for Spotify subscribers. I was going to do it this week, and I know that from just doing this survey I did in the Patreon, that not everybody knows how to find things in their astrology chart. So some of you are listening and you just like the sound of my voice and you use it to go to sleep. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I love that people use me as a way to find their Z's. That's great. Some people just come in for the other information. Right? And a heads up. But it's really cool to be able to look at that chart and kind of know where things are. So I'm going to make some videos this week. I think I'll have the podcast studio in a position where I can record in it, hopefully, so that next Monday I can put the survey out, because I want to do little videos showing you very quickly, this is where you find this house. This is where, and there's little symbols. I had Alicia upload the symbols into the survey so you could play a matching game, because that's what you do when you're first learning. Play a matching game. You don't have to understand what everything means just yet. All you have to do is match the symbols. And then when I do the survey reveal, you guys will get to come. We'll do a webinar. So where I explain the results. So that'll be super cool. What do you think about that, Miss Sara?
I think it's cool, and that construction just started by me.
Oh, did it? That's super exciting. Love that early morning London vibe. All right. Up next, we've avoided it so far, but we're going to have to talk about the April astrology. You ready? All right, we're going to talk about the April astrology. Take a deep breath, because it's a wild one. That doesn't mean it has to be a wild one for you, though. You could have a really good month. Like I always say, the world can be burning and it can be the best time of your life because it is individual perspectives. So if you think about going to an airport and you watch all the people, I'm a people watcher, right? So you can, if you sit there, some people are having like a really hard time. Maybe they're frustrated, they're sad, they're anxious. Some people are having the worst day of their life. They're flying to a funeral, you know. Other people are meeting a lover and they're excited. Some people are going on vacation and they're really looking forward to it. Other people are seeing their mommy or daddy for the first time in a long time. Somebody's coming home. Sometimes it's bittersweet, you know. So all of those people are on the same day in the same energy having different experiences because everybody has their own astrology. So when I'm talking about the astrology of the month, I'm not talking about that for the individual. Okay. I'm talking about that for like a collective experience, stuff that's kind of out of our hands. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Okay. Cool beans. All right. I mean, you grew up with this, so.
I was going to say, people watching with lemonade.
Right. That's right. People watching with lemonade. Good times. So I'm going to pull up our 2025 year ahead, which if you're a patron at the $5 level and up, you get that as one of your many bennies. I normally don't put it out till like May, but this year being what it is, I was like, all right, in March, I'm going to give it out. So if you are a patron at the $5 level and up, you get that for free as part of your membership. It's in your patron goodies collection. And guys, you got to click around. Okay. I've got walkthrough videos in the Start Here collection, but you got to click around. Okay. I can't do anything different.
You can't hurt the tech. It's okay.
You can't hurt it. Click around. If you are a free member until March 31st, you get it for $10. You get it for $10. You can look that up in your free post. So go for that. I might be a softie and put out another discount in April. So we'll see. I often am a softie, aren't I?
A little too soft.
A little too soft, says my momager. See, people would say, oh, daughterager. I'm like, no, she manages her mom. So, right. All right. Okay. So, which is really nice. Riverside just set up this like picture in picture thing so I can actually go to another screen without like losing eye contact.
I know, right?
I know. They did this while we were recording.
Well, I realized while we were recording, I'm like, oh, I can work and do this. Yeah.
That's exciting. All right. So April 1st is traditionally April Fool's Day. But there could be some stuff that happens. Now remember the transits are global, and I know a lot of people want to know about their area, their location. I don't do like this is what's going to happen in New York or Houston or London or Paris because I do not have enough time in my life to run that many charts. And most people don't realize how many charts it actually takes to do this. I'm looking at enough charts. So putting on the handy dandy reading glasses, April 1st, when I look at the slide, it was like pranks can go wrong. We're going to hear about some April Fool's pranks that go sideways and not in a normal way. We could see a shocking event, surprise attacks in Asia, potentially, looking at the South China Sea, looking in Philippine territorial waters or the Straits of Taiwan, even down so far as in Australian territorial waters. So there's been stuff going on there. Remember, I wrote all of this in May of 2024. and I presented in June. We could see stuff going on in Eastern Russia or the Russian Federation. And I'm a little nervous after today's news. Talking about Sunday. I'm like, oh, things are getting hot. We could see some very large earthquake offshore of Alaska, British Columbia, or in the Bering Straits, potentially a large earthquake in Japan or offshore. There's a possibility of a tsunami. Now, we just had a really big earthquake, not just in Myanmar, but in Tonga. Okay, Tonga had a 7.0. And so that may have been what I was seeing. We're in a couple of dates. You know, not everything always happens exactly on the day. I'm looking, it might happen, you know, a day before, day after. But we could also see a typhoon or a cyclone, again, in that region of the world. Or a very destructive erosion causing atmospheric river that could slam into BC or the Pacific Northwest. I haven't looked at the weather. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe that's that weather they already had. Okay, so issues with rivers, riverbanks, river gorges, and shipping lanes. That would be any kind of strait, like the Strait of Gibraltar, the Suez Canal, Panama Canal. Those things are up on deck. Early April tensions boil over in South China Sea and the Straits of Taiwan. So we could see that this week. April 5th, we could see another big storm or potential seismic activity in Southern California near the Mexico border or in Mexico on the Pacific side. When I was doing my monthly predictions, I think it's leaning more into Mexico itself. Because I narrow things down then. We could see a big monsoon heading towards India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, East Africa, including Madagascar, Seychelles, and Mauritius. We have listeners in all of those places. We could see you guys impacted by rising sea levels, big waves, and or storms. So keep your eye out and be smart about it. Could see issues in the Suez Canal or Red Sea, Straits of Hormuz, Persian Gulf, as far as shipping lanes and Navy activity is concerned. And we could see a rise in piracy anywhere in the Red Sea, et cetera, in that area. Southern Hemisphere is facing massive instability, could see accelerated ice melt, big storms, erosion events, and or civil unrest, military coups, or issues over water supply. And that's like Chile, Argentina, South Africa, Angola, anything south of the equator, DRC, that kind of fun stuff. So super fun. I know there is good stuff that happens, but this is what we see in mundane astrology. Around the 19th of April, we could have a historic moment. That could be anything. It's big energy. We could see big waves, storms, ocean currents in the news, windstorms, firestorms, and or volcanic activity to be expected. Could be from an already active volcano, an underwater volcano, or even see the caldera outside of Naples rumble or spew lava in some way. Could be small activity, but it's activity. So I don't see the caldera in Naples exploding all the way. I'm never going to be a doomsayer like that, but it could be like vents open up, steam lets off, that kind of thing. We could see a female world leader rise to prominence. So there's some good news. We could see claims of people seeing the Virgin Mary or some other goddess or female archetype globally. Or there could be a lot of talk about that feminine energy. We could see news out of the UK, NATO, of potential border conflicts. Women's issues are global. We could see women march and or fight for rights or recognition. April 20th and 21st could be very explosive. This is when 21st is when Mars is ingressing into Leo. And this is going to be very, very incendiary. So we could see arsons and fires of all kinds. We could see internet disruptions and communications disrupted, big booms, natural and or man-made. So if you want to hear the rest of what's going on with that, if you're a sucker for punishment, you can head over to the Patreon, join the Patreon at the $5 level and up, and you get it for free. You can also find it in the shop because the Patreon has a shop. So to spell out the astrology, we have Saturn sextile Uranus, Mars sextile Uranus, and Mars trine Saturn on April 4th. If you ever saw Year One with Jack Black, and Cain and Abel played the game of stabby, stabby, cut, cut, that kind of describes that energy. But on a personal level, it's super, super creative. You could be inspired if you use your creative discipline. If you like sit down and listen to your muse, you can actually make stuff happen. That's a very manifesting energy. So on a collective level, a little unhinged. On a personal level, it can be exceptionally creative and very, very productive. April 6th, we have the Sun sextile Jupiter and Venus trines Mars. Get your bags, babies. Get your bags. This is a great thing for entrepreneurs. This is a good thing for people of service. It's a really good time to get stuff done. You might be a little optimistic, but I don't think you can be overly optimistic as long as you're using your discipline, so, if you just sit and think about things and you don't take any action and you're optimistic, that's overly optimistic. But if you take action at all and you have any kind of focus, April 6th is a great day to set things into motion. You may not see the results of it that day, but you could get lucky. But you can set things into motion that bear fruit later. Venus conjunct Saturn, Mercury direct on April 7th. So Mercury retrograde will finish on April 7th. That's good news because it's been very retrograde-y. Has it not?
Yeah, it's been nice tech issues the entire time.
Stupid tech issues, but yeah. Frustratingly stupid tech. And Venus will sextile Saturn. Or Uranus. It'll be conjunct Saturn and sextile Uranus. Again, that is very interesting energy. It's a day you want to really hold on to your thoughts. It's a day you want to be open to inspiration. Uranus is inspiration as much as it's disruption. I think on a mundane level, we're looking at some banking issues and maybe some issues with the stock market. But it could be a little rally. I don't think it's going to be, looking at what's going on in the world. There's issues with the Treasury Department right now, especially for people who have treasuries, trying to get them out. They are not allowing access, or at least weren't allowing access over the weekend. Yeah. April 12th, we got a full moon. It's a doozy. It's in Libra. In Libra, I always tell you there's two signs I don't like to piss off, and one of those is Libra and the other is Pisces. And we got a lot of that energy going on that day. Venus will station direct. So, and all I can think is it's Aretha singing Respect. Like, nice. Aretha is wailing inside my head right now, except that it's the part, it's like, you better think, and it's like, people are kind of DONE, put a fork in them at that full moon, and rightfully so. April 15th, we have Mercury moving back into Aries, and it's going to be conjunct on the 16th to Neptune. And that's going to be some fascinating energy. I'd love to tell you definitively what it means, but we haven't really seen it happen in our lifetimes. My best guesstimate is people are going to be popping off. I think people are going to be on a pulpit and preaching. Everybody's going to have a little bit of something to say, and some people may be taking intuitive action. I would, if I were you in your physical shoes, I'd be listening to my higher guidance and listening for what the next step I am to take. You have to remember, it's not about the collective right now. It's about you doing your part to make things better for the collective. Mars moves into Leo on the 17th. Mars is ingressing into Leo and moving into an immediate opposition with Pluto. It's a little spicy. And the end of the month is a lot spicy. I'll talk about it later. I don't want to depress everybody. But the end of April is very, very spicy meatballs.
Wow.
Globally. But I don't think we're seeing, I've said it in the magazine. I've written the articles because the magazine is more than predictions and horoscopes. I write astrological articles, and I wrote what I thought would happen with Neptune and Aries. And I talked about it last week, and I talked about how Neptune and Aries, like, it ingressed in 1861, right? Like the day after the Civil War started. But it was a very different energy at that time than there is in 2025. And it doesn't mean our country isn't divided. It is. But there was other stuff going on in the astrology chart. When I look at the confluence of conflicts that have happened from, I don't know, pretty much the Crusades till now. Okay. I'm not going to go through them all. I'm resisting my history professor vibe. When I look at the confluence of conflict that led to conflict, that led to conflict, that led to conflict, I see this confluence of all of these unresolved issues kind of all up on deck at the same time. And collectively, which is why each of us has to take care of our own beeswax, collectively, we're learning you can't just blame a leader. You can't just demand a rescue, the Prince Charming on the white horse. We can't wait. What are they going to do? Who's going to do something? Well, you're it. Okay.
We're it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And coming together. And it's not about having like an individual. The time for leaders has ended a while ago. And that's why we've ended up in the position we're in. We all lead together, and we interconnect, and we have to create sustainability together. And it's becoming very, very, very apparent. And that's why you have to work on yourself. And even if you're just getting started, that's fine. If you can make a modicum of change in yourself, you make a big change in the world.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, that's something I've been dedicated to for a long time, and it looked really, really crazy a long time ago when there was no evidence to support it. But I've always been excited when science catches up. So, I know people have some outstanding questions about political factors. I'm not talking about that on the public podcast. I will talk about it in the Patreon a little bit. Things just going to have to play out right now. My biggest suggestion is to garden, get to know neighbors. You don't have to like everyone. But if you have especially vulnerable people that you can reasonably say hi to, and I'm talking about the elderly especially, check on your neighbors. The Gene Hackman thing is still making me so sad.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that from the get-go, just knowing, having experience being a caregiver. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just take care of them.
Yeah. Just
check in.
Yeah. Check in. Just
check on all those who are caring. Actually, that's the biggest one. Yeah. Check in on those who are caring. I mean, I literally broke my back. So, consequences to that. You gotta, again, fill your cup, people.
Yeah.
And help fill people's cups when they need it, when you see it. Again, collectively, the more. No, it's hard to.
I always appreciate, because I do a lot of support. We have a big audience. I do a lot of support for people, and I always get very almost surprised, but also very gushy when people are like, "How are you?" I'm like, "Oh, thanks for asking." Because I don't often talk about what's going on in my personal. Yeah, I don't often talk about what's going on in my personal life. So, but I show up whether I'm sick, whether I've had a shitty day, whether I've gone through a breakup or whether I made a major life change, whether I had a fight with someone. And that can happen right before a reading, and I will center and show up because that's my job. So it's always nice when people, ask. It's
check
good.
in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Check in. It costs you nothing. We say, hey, how you doing? Yeah. So one of the things I'm planning on doing is supporting local businesses where I live as a business. So supporting people by producing podcasts, or and creating like a local business podcast. It's going to be kind of fun. It should be entertaining when people are excited about it. I just got to get the podcast studio set up, and then I'll do that. Working on it. It's me and my parents right now. It's been a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see what else. I was going to say, what am I focusing on? I think I want to teach more about conscious people to have their businesses. That's something I wanted to teach for a long time. I have in the past, but teaching entrepreneurship from the trenches. You can go to university for entrepreneurship. You're probably not going to learn a whole lot. You kind of have to do it, and they also
that
teach
resiliency. Well,
that's what the mystery school is all about. Resiliency.
Mm-hmm.
I know you hate the tier name. The Annie process.
The worst name.
It's the worst name because there's a cult by that name, Mom. Mystery schools have existed since like the Middle Ages.
I know.
Yeah. So, but it's actually, and mystery schools are actually always schools of thought. That's what people don't understand. It's not like Hogwarts. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ENI process that I created is in there, and it helps you develop your mind. It helps you understand and deconstruct without the angst. It helps you understand yourself and move towards where you want to be versus stay stuck where you are. So there's that. But yeah, building the resilience and teaching more about how to build those things, whether it's podcasting and how to message and practice, that kind of fun stuff. That's stuff I want to teach more of. So, it's going forward. When it comes to the big stuff, only so much you can do if you don't, in your focusing on your local area is probably your best bet right now. The bigger stuff, I would duck and stay out of the way because it's all going to come to a head towards the end of April, and I'll keep patrons kind of informed of that, but I'm not going to say as much here. Just, but yeah.
Reasons. Safety reasons.
Non, je regrette rien.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, that's our April astrology. The predictions for the week are up in the Patreon. I'm not going to give them for the week here on this podcast. I'll talk about it in the Patreon, but if you get the magazine, the prediction preview is up. The horoscope preview is up. One of the things I'm going to do that I've never done before, I'm going to read the horoscopes for each of the rising signs as separate files.
That's a good idea, dude.
Right?
I like that one.
Yeah, I already read the articles, but I always figure people read the horoscopes and the predictions. So I was like, I bet they skip the articles sometimes. So I'm going to read the articles. So, because I'm a writer, damn it.
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted to be on camera. I'm a writer, damn it. It's hard, a blind writer. Super fun. It's not fair. I've been writing since I was 4 years old. But anyway, I'm going to read the horoscopes. And if you don't get the magazine and you can't subscribe to it, that's okay. They'll be affordable. You can buy them from the post itself for the one you want. We're working on making some things available. So if you can't manage a subscription, but maybe you save your money up for something, like some of the classes that are up, some of the workshops in like the Planet of the Month Club library, which is really, really in-depth astrology and very well worth it, whether you're a beginner or an intermediate. Or you can join the astrology crew where you get it all. You get it all. You get the whole library and you get me once a month. Aren't you lucky?
Oh, yeah. It's so much.
There's a lot.
It's a lot, dude. It is a lot.
I forget.
I don't think people understand the amount of work that goes into any of this. I'm just saying.
A lot of them do. I've actually had people quit because they're like, keep it up. And I'm like, oh, you don't have to do it all at once.
Yeah.
You know? But there's just a lot of reference material in there. So.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, you know what I always do, though? I started a tradition. And speaking of horoscopes, I tend to read the one for the month. So we're in Aries season. So I'm going to read the Aries rising horoscope to end the show.
Nice.
Right? Let me go find it. Oh, I need my reading glasses, though. I read Sara her horoscope, too.
That will be nice.
All right. All right, Aries rising. I'm trying to... The screen is in the way. All right. Plugged in. Hardwired. You're feeling a little different now. It could be that you get a boost of energy from somewhere, or you might be feeling a bit like you do after you get out of the pool. It could go either way. And there's no wrong way to feel with Neptune arriving. There's no wrong way to feel with Neptune arriving in Aries. Neptune, like all outer planets, brings change. But it's not the lightning bolt of Uranus or the intense life-altering energy of Pluto. Neptune erodes and imbues. Sounds ominous, doesn't it? But in reality, Neptune is coming in like a cloak, a protection that is much lighter and stronger than a shield. So you've got that on your side. What's being eroded is your insecurities. The sense of swimming or ethereal physical energy is there to help you learn to lean into your natural connection to the all that is. The great beyond is here, and you, my friend, get to connect from a protected space. What does that mean for your wallet? Well, it's not a bad thing. In fact, you might just find yourself catching some lucky breaks towards the end of the month. You might have a sudden gain or be resourced in an unexpected way at the end of the month. And while the rest of the world is shaking their heads at the volatility, you're riding high and finding yourself coming up on top. There's good stuff on the way. Have faith, even if you don't right now. You will by the end of April. It's about to get magical, which doesn't mean that you sit on your tush waiting. There's action to take. Just tune into your guidance first. And if you want the full and new moon info, that's in the sidebar on your horoscope page. So there you go, guys. That's what we got for you. Sara's going to be joining me a lot more because it's a lot easier for me to actually record.
Yeah.
Guest.
I'll be
much easier.
A little regular.
Well, regular. It's always good to be regular when you're my age.
Hey, it's always good to be regular at my age.
That's right. You're getting old.
Yeah, I am getting old. Thanks. Thanks. I do take my fiber.
I just get youthful. But anyway, no, thank you for joining me, Sara. And Sara's been my partner in crime from the day she was born. So we're in it to win it.
Yeah, you might not see me, but I am thrusting her forward.
Foot in tush. But no, as Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh said, you plus me makes we. So Thank you. Mwah.